Baptiste has suddenly become one of the best supports in the game, but how? Dracula. Suck me first, I might get back at you. Now, Bap's already seen a bit of play with Lifeweaver over the last few weeks. 2 days ago though, Icenom, Virtus Pro's tank player, came into my chat saying Baptiste was real goods. But why? Get ready to delve into a map 6 banger between two top EMEA teams as we go over some insane duels, fat windows, and secret pro insights. Now, when Bap's been played, it's commonly been with Brig. The last time we saw a true Brig Bap meta was during Double Shield in Overwatch 1, which was broken due to the extreme AoE healing between both supports. Nowadays, that's less so the case. Where back in Overwatch 1, AoE healing was the name of the game, in Overwatch 2, burst healing from perks and just abilities in general make this backline practically. For clarity, Repair Pack in Overwatch 1 didn't have that 25 burst healing that it has now, and neither did Regen Burst. The Immortality perk and the Critical Pack perk only exacerbate this even more. But if sustain was all that mattered, why haven't we seen teams play Ana Brig instead of Bat Brig? After all, the only time we saw Bat Brig being played in Overwatch 2 was when a team didn't want to play Ana a few months ago. Well, that's kinda changed now because of Freja. She's still basically meta despite her nerfs, and she gives Ana Brig and Dive in general a hard time. Don't believe me? Take it from a professional coach.
The problem is that dive comps right now are getting soft countered by Freja, so it's pretty easy to play Bap without suffering the usual counter comps to Bap, because Ana Brig just gets so much cancer from Freja, and Lucio Curie is so easy to ban out.
To elaborate further on what Cap said, I think this fight perfectly showcases it. You can see here, Quartz flanks over, hits a bolt onto Gala, and fires the bowler shot. Because Gala is on Baptiste though, he just tanks the first bolt, then jumps away using his Exo Boot perk. If Gala was playing Ana here instead, it's way more likely he ends up dying. An even more extreme example comes from Yoham. This time, Zodial actually connects the bowler shot onto Yoham, but by simply pressing 2 buttons, he tanks the bowler shot entirely. Not to mention, he almost ends up killing Crispy in the process too. When Crispy pops the captive son, Yoham tosses the lamp to save Natsuki, with Crispy going down in the process. Granted, your teammates do actually need to be in the lamp, otherwise you'll invest 3 ultimates and lose to a single pulse bomb. Speaking of pulse bomb, that's yet another ultimate Baptiste can deal with. Back when we saw Brig Ana being meta in 2023, there wasn't much you could do about getting stuck. But now, we see Bap players not just tank it, but straight up out-duel Tracers, which nicely leads me on to the next section, Bap's dueling potential. And I think Gala shows that off well here. All of Gala's sustain cooldowns have been exhausted, so when he enters this Tracer duel, it's all gonna come down to movement and mechanics. Now, I will admit, Psycho's blinks aren't the greatest, but importantly, Gala punishes Psycho with some good shots. You won't see Ana doing this anytime soon. Then, he just about gets his Regen Burst before dueling Quartz, and if he didn't have to reload at this exact frame, there's a good chance Quartz goes down. Still though, despite dying to Quartz, he's left on 50 HP, almost winning a 1v2. He does end up matching against Quartz again on the next point, shredding him before Jwoo lands the final blow. On Oasis, we get into a very messy fight, as Kersey somehow finds 2 bomb kills, but Jwoo also finds 2 pulse kills. In this kind of situation, the carry potential of Baptiste comes to fruition. Gala tracks and finds the kill onto Funny Astro, alongside hitting some vital shots onto Psycho, forcing him off points. This doesn't look that impressive, but doing this on any other support is next to impossible. Before I continue, just a quick coaching plug. You can get my coaching either through Metafy or through my Discord. Check it out down below. One very overlooked aspect of Baptiste is his Exo Boots. Back on New Junk City, you can see Gala jump up to the containers, where characters like Tracer just can't reach him. Dive maps like Ilios exacerbate this even more. You can see Kanale try and dual dip, landing some good damage onto him before jumping up to the high ground to avoid him entirely. When Dip sees this, he just gives up and turns around because he can't reach him anymore. Now, when Willis eventually goes high ground, this is where we get into out-rotating. Basically outmaneuvering the enemy team, and in this context, constantly creating distance against dive heroes. You can see Kanale out-rotates the hazard by jumping over to the left, eventually getting to the opposite high grounds. As a result, he's completely uncontested and just stat farms the enemy team. Back to Gala, and you can see that the second he sees the enemy tracer, he does hit a bullet or two, but importantly, he immediately starts moving forwards. This is out-rotating the tracer, and while it might look and sound simple, a lot of people like Coach struggled to do it, and even Team Liquid struggled to do it just 2 weeks ago. Bap's window is something that a lot of players tend to struggle with, but last week, we saw how players like UV were able to burn targets through window as long as he was uncontestable. Of course, verticality can make you hard to contest in general, but distance is the important factor here. If we look at this window by Yoham, it's obviously not a great window. It's super easy for Mag and Crispy to push past it because of the distance or lack thereof. Conversely, this window from Kajor seems a lot more reasonable. Yes, the hazard is pretty close, but every other player is miles away. Coupled with the spike from Mag, and Kajor ends up catching 2 kills from the window. Of course, windows that can zone space and disrupt pushes are also useful too. This window by Gala disrupts the enemy Ramattra from pushing onto points, and while Quartz tries to bowler him, Gala just shrugs it off. This actually leads me onto Bap's positioning in general. Zooming out, we can see that Gala is sitting right between his Orisa on the left and the Brig Cassidy to the right. This effectively gives him the widest possible FOV, so he knows when to help anyone. Coupled with the booster perk, and this allows Gala to quickly dash over to his side if it needs assistance. Moments later, this is done with the Brig Cass, eventually landing some shots into the Juno before turning his attention back to his Orisa. This isn't even a comp specific thing, as we also saw this on Midtown. I wanted to bring this up because I know a lot of players that struggle with awareness, and this is just a nice, quick and easy fix. Of course, the distance here isn't just for awareness, it's also for baiting. You can see here that Astro clearly wants to beat rush on top of the enemy backline. However, because there's so much distance from the Tracer, Lucio and Freja, Gala is fairly comfortable in absorbing the beats and staying alive. Now honestly, I don't quite know why Astro goes so early. Maybe it's because the Orisa Tracer are starting to do things and apply pressure, but there's a very easy fix to getting closer onto the Baptiste. Because both the Orisa Tracer are split, forcing them out and getting them low would encourage Gala to walk closer in order to help them, and that's when you drop the beats. Now I know it's Pride Month, but things aren't always sunshine and rainbows. Bap does have his limitations, and as I talked about in my problem with Baptiste video, he really struggles against comps that try to run him over, and that isn't limited to just dive. Back on New Junk City, look at how stacked the backline are, getting surrounded by multiple different angles. This is partially because there's no speed boost, but Gala is eventually forced to use both cooldowns. It's just too much pressure to deal with. The lack of speed boost too can exacerbate the issue, especially on certain parts of the map. Ramattra can just chase Baptiste down and land the kill without too much of a worry. This is, in part, why we see some teams play Lucio Bap in case Kiri, Juno or Brig were banned. But honestly, we've seen so many different backlines, from Juno Kiri on Twisted Minds to Moira comps by Frosttail, that everything has got its pros and cons. Only Ana has fairly low playtime, probably less than Moira. Bans do actually help out Bap's viability, because we've seen Bap Iliari, Bap Kiri, Bap Lifeweaver, Bap Brig, Bap Juno, Bap Lucio, and Bap Zen. That's how versatile this character can be. Now, I know a whole lot of you wanted me to make a Mercy video, but unfortunately, replay codes got cleared and there's no Mercy POVs that I could find. Also, I know the title of that video is a bit clickbaity, but don't hate the player, hate the game. As long as the content of my videos is actually quality, the title and thumbnail is just tricking you guys into learning the game. If you want me to keep this short section about addressing comments at the end of my videos, do let me know, because it does feel a bit more interactive. Anyways, click the video on screen if you enjoyed this one, and until next time.